I've heard someone play like a guitar and they've played one note just with feeling over and over again, really simply, and it moves you, as opposed to someone who just gone blah, 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 blah. And it kind of looks impressive, but it's not really that good. It doesn't move you. So the point is, especially in praise and worship, we need to realise that we're part of a band. There are all these different moving bits. We need to work together. So we'll give you an example, right? So we'll play something simple for you as we do it, and then we'll show you what it sounds like if we're playing really busy and all over the place. So let's take the chorus of Endless Praise, which is in the key of D. Somebody play me a D. To you. Okay, so this is how it normally sounds. Big chorus. 1, 2, 3. To you. And the good thing about this is that this may represent some of your churches, because you've only got acoustic, so you can relate to this. Let's show you what it sounds like to be really busy and sloppy. All right, 1, 2, 3. To you. I don't know why you're clapping. Now, what each musician just played wasn't actually that bad, and it was almost like they were doing a solo, but together it sounds ridiculous. It sounds so messy. And so, what Josh was doing on the bass was impressive. But in context with what we're doing, it takes away the strength of the sound, because and Brendo was, messing up his patterns and doing stuff. Who are the drummers? Give me a wave, drummers. It is a lot of drums. It is so important that you play the patterns correctly. Yeah. The patterns of the drums determine the whole feel of the song. And so whether Brendo's drumming, we tour with 3 different drummers. Brendo, Andy, who's our youth pastor, he's the one who plays on the albums, or a guy called Chris. No matter what drummer is on tour, they will play the exact same patterns. Exactly the same. Because if, Brendo, the normal pattern for Endless Praise is this. It's really straight. But then what he did before was this. And that's a good drum pattern, but it's not the Endless Praise drum pattern. So it changes the whole feel of the song. Yeah. So in your church, if you're doing a Hillsong song, a Jesus Culture song, a Planetshakers song, whatever, it's so important, if you want it to sound like that you play the parts like that. And what we do with our drummers is, then people go, oh, what about my interpretation? I want to express myself, That's where you can do that in the drum fills. So we let these guys do whatever fills they want, but the pattern needs to be played exactly the same. It's the same for guitar, rhythm, it's the same for the keyboard in its chords. It's very important to play what you hear. Something crazy that you might not know is we don't do rehearsals at Planetshakers, because we place the emphasis on people learning the song at home. So at my old church, we used to come together in a group like this, and we used to play the song, and then we all used to learn it together. Does anyone do that at their church? Yeah. But the thing about that way is that, everyone's at different levels of skill, and you end up probably getting through 1 or 2 songs for the whole night. Yeah. And it takes a long time because everyone's sort of figuring it out as they go. Where in our church, we encourage everyone to do the work at home. So when we come together, everyone knows it, bam, and it works straight away. So in some cases, we've sent out the demo of a new song on a Saturday, before the Sunday, because that's what happens, Saturday comes before Sunday, and we'll say, we've got a new song tomorrow, please learn it. That's a pretty crazy turnaround. People will, spend a couple of hours at home learning the song, and then we'll come Sunday morning during the sound check, and we will run the song, and it will be perfect. Because every person has just got their bit, and they're not trying to complicate it, but they just learn their bit on the demo. So the drums just learns that pattern, the bass just learns that line, and when we come together, all the pieces fit together like a puzzle. And so let me encourage you to do that in your churches, in your worship teams. Learn the song, put the work in at home. So when you come to the church service, you're a lot more productive with your time. Okay, thanks for your help. There's some good options there. Not the one I wanted though. So then that learning a song is one thing. But then learning flow is another thing. And this is where you're playing songs that aren't written yet. You're making them up as they go, which is exciting, but also scary. So, do you guys flow in your churches? Yeah, so like you just have those times of worship where you come up with the chord progressions yourself. Does everybody know the number system? Yes. Hands up if you know the number system, chord numbers. Alright, so there's a lot of people who don't. Now this is awesome, and it will revolutionise your communication between your band. Because it's so important that everyone's communicating to each other. Josh is always listening to what the drums are doing. Mitch is listening to what everyone's listening to what the drums are doing. And they're also listening to what each other's doing. Because the drum sets the rhythm. Now, important thing to know, play this pattern. Right, so this is the syncopation between his kick and his snare, right? If I was playing the keys, my left hand would be following the kick drum, my right hand would be following the snare. So I'd be going, like feeling that pulsing of the pattern. So choose a chord, any chord, play it together. 3, 4. See how those sync into each other? So for those who are any keyboard players here, so when you're playing the keys at church, remember, simple is better. And there's a lot of keyboard players who don't understand that statement. Ooh, even in our church. I'm constantly saying, chill out, just play the chords. But listen to the drums. Scotland, listen to the drums. Play simple. Okay, so, flow, right? This is where the numbers system is amazing. So somewhere in the key of C major, right? Chord 1 is a C. Chord 2 is what? D what? D minor. So we have two main minor chords in the key of C. What are they? A minor and D minor. If I had a whiteboard, I could show you. But if you got paper, you're taking notes. Write the numbers along the page. Write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now 1 and 8 are the same. If we're talking about a scale, right? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Let's go back to C. Under those numbers, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Under the numbers, right, C, D, E, F, G. I just go up the alphabet. So 1 is C, 2 is D, 3 is E, 4 is F, 5 is G, 6 is A, 7 is B, 8 is C. Again, so it repeats. That's called a scale, 8 notes. La da 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 da. Right? The main 3 major chords that we use are what? 1, 4, 5, which is C, F, G. Now there's 2 minor chords that we just said, which is D minor and A minor. So that's numbers 2 and 6. Now the awesome thing about the number system is that no matter what key we're in, I can call numbers with my hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We use that as 6, because if the leader is holding a mic, it's a bit hard for them to go. So the little finger is 6. So let's pick, someone to pick a key, any key. G, alright, so ready? 3, 4. Like that, with me communicating numbers with my hand, they can all flow. So, and normally what we would do is the keyboard player will have an MD microphone, which stands for music director. And we all at church use in-ears. Does anyone use in-ears in their church? Any monitoring? It's a great way to go. If you don't have that, try to put money into that, invest into that, because it does help what we do. And so that gives the ability for the keyboard player with the MD microphone to communicate to the rest of the band. If we go into a free worship time, sure, we can keep doing the chorus progression that we were doing, or we can take it somewhere and make it sound amazing. We want our worship experience to be one that moves people. You know, you want the emotions to be moved. And so, what are the chords that are emotion evoking? Minors. Your major chords are happy, right? So that is an emotion. But your minor chords are what really sounds moving. I'll give you an example. Yeah, if you can hold this for me. So these are our... No sustain. Wow, okay, good job. So we're in key G. So we're playing nice and happy. And that sounds great. But then when you go to the minor chords... moves you more, and that's very hard to play nice without a sustain pedal. All the keyboard players say amen. So, yes? So flow is very important, and numbers are a great thing too. You know, probably 90% of praise and worship songs consist of 4 chords. 1, 4, 5, 6. So that, say we're in the key of C, that's C, F, G, A minor, just in different orders. So can you hold this for me again? So, here I am to 1, here I am to 5, here I am to 6, that you're my 4. How 1 is how 1, sing with me, how 6, how 6. Oh, we'll see how 4, how 5 is how 1. So many songs like that. 6, how 7, 1. That's what different chords anyway. But bad example. Any songwriters here? Anyone who wants to write songs? Yeah, that's cool. All we have to do is pick those 4 chords and put them in a different order, and then sing a melody over the top, and you've got a hit song. Not really, but might be a hit song from your church. So flow, right? So the worship leader might be singing something. And it's important to, when you are flowing in your church, keeping the chord progression relatively simple. So let's, Mitch, you call the shots on this. With so say we've just finished the anthem, right? In key C. You are the risen King, seated in majesty. You are the risen King. Over to you, call the chords. The chords Mitch chose were very nice for like a musical interlude, kind of. You know, it had good flow to it. If I'm trying to sing out a song prophetically and make it like almost a repetitive line that I want the congregation to sing, that chord progression probably wouldn't work too well because it was just a bit too different. So when you want to go into that zone and you feel that the worship leader is wanting to sing out something very prophetic, then I would simplify it. So, you are the reason. You got a 4. Let's go back and forth between those chords. Numbers, we can go upper key. Let's go upper key to 1. thing about key changes and numbers is that as the music director, you don't have to yell out the chords of the key, you just yell out the numbers. Because the musician's job is to learn the numbers in the different keys. The numbers are the same. So like number 1, 4, 5, 6, no matter what key you're in, they're still those same numbers. And so it can be used to great advantage, learning numbers. Any questions on that number system? Any questions? Has everyone written that down? Yeah. For those who don't understand it, right? That will really help you, I think. All right. Ham. Play a bass solo. 3, 4. Bass solos, so thought we'd get him to do a bass solo. Anyway, any bass players here? Do anybody know how to do a slap bass? Anybody want to come up and do a solo? Slapping is cool. It's not necessarily what you would do all the time in church, probably never actually, but it's a fun technique that you can use somewhere. Do you want to explain how you do it? Yeah, go on.
How to slap?
Yeah. Just in short, your philosophy on slapping.
Sure. Slapping is very percussive in the way that you do it. So with your right hand, you just want to take your thumb, hit the string, kind of down across the string, like you're doing that, but the other way, almost hit a bit harder. And then popping is just pulling the string up, so you get that percussive. And slapping is very short, quick sounds. So you've got to make sure you're really locked in with the drums.
What about Seinfeld? Yeah, that's right. You know Seinfeld? Seinfeld is Zach's favourite show. Anybody like Star Wars? New Star Wars coming out at the end of the year. Woo! I'm excited about that. Now, Brendo, on the drums, it's very important for our drummers to understand that consistency is so important. So the way you're hitting... Now, Brendo's been using hot rods, right? Does everyone know what hot rods are? For those who don't know, hot rods are like these really thin little, almost like satay skewers, bunched together. And they make things a lot quieter. So hit the snare with that. Alright? Now hit it with a real stick. Hear the noise difference? Yeah. So if you're in a church setting like this, that it's very noisy and you have to be a bit more controlled with your drums, try hot rods. Because they work great. Now, if you hit the snare in the middle with your stick, like not a rim shot, just in the middle, hit it hard but in the middle. Now that might sound good to you, but what sounds better in the mix is when you do a rim shot. Hear the difference? It's got like a crack to it. So your front of house engineer, your sound man, will appreciate consistency on the drums because it lets you mix better. So Brendo, when he's hitting last night, and this morning with the hot rods, you can still do that rim shot. He's trying to make sure that every single snare hit is the same, right? It's real, not like that. Just real consistent and strong and punchy. And really, I could get in trouble for saying this, but you do get the best drum tones when you're really hitting hard. Take it or leave it. Well, in recording anyway, maybe not as live as, maybe it might be a different story. We're having a good time up here, aren't we? Kick drum as well, really, punching through that and the toms. Drum tuning is important too. Now, our front of house guy is up the back, Jim. Give everyone a wave, Jim. Yep, so Jim is our production manager at Planetshakers. Jim, do you rather a tight snare or a loose snare? Depends on the format. By that you mean the style of event? Yep. So for our style last night, tighter snare. Why is that? Yeah. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. Like, it needs to crack, have that crack to it. If we were doing an indie sort of style gig with, do you know what indie is? Like that style, like real folky acoustic, real deep snare that's loose, that, or a country sort of style, that would work good for that, but no one likes country anyway. So, just kidding. So, Brenna, hit your snare again. Yeah, so that's kind of like, it's not super tight, it's not super low, it's in the middle somewhere. Now hit your toms. So they're tuned pretty good. That third one's not tuned very well. So that's Brendo's fault. No, it's important to tune your drums well, because if you don't tune them well, they can get weird overtones. Yeah. And then when they're coming through front of house, it can actually clash with instruments. You can actually tune your toms to a note. Like everything in life, every sound that you hear is a certain frequency. Yeah. It's actually a note. True. Even if you sneeze, that's a note. Believe it or not. What's that? Yeah, another great tool is gaff tape. You can put that on the drums because that really does help. I know this is just random facts, but these are things that we do every place that we go to make what we do sound the best. You want to invest into your gear as well. Like the Bible says, we want to play skillfully, but we want to also invest money and time into our gear so that, what we're doing is offering God the best with what we have as well. Yes. And so I want to encourage you to put money into good gear. You're making sounds on this for praise and worship to give God glory, so you want to have the best gear possible. Yes, yes. So just be encouraged to do that. And if you can, be encouraged to buy in-ear monitoring. Right, so we've got 15 minutes before we finish. We're going to stop now quickly. Any questions on anything I've said so far? We're going to do question and answers later too, but on anything I've said at this point. Anybody? Can be about recording albums, or can be about last one? Yeah.
Regarding time, because we're not full-time musicians, how do you encourage? From what you said that you give the demo on Saturday and play on a Sunday, how do you encourage us? We're working and then we're juggling time.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? We are all the same. We're not full-time musicians either. Like Brendo, what do you do for a job?
Yeah, I work in construction.
Brendo works in construction. Right, so we're not all full-time ministry by any means. Josh works for the church. He works in the youth department, but not necessarily music. Like he works creatively in youth. I'm the music director, but I'm not always just doing music. I'm doing our music team administration, all that sort of stuff. Mitch is studying. What are you studying? He's studying law. Full-time? Full-time. So and everyone on the Planetshakers team has a different story, but we're all, just doing our thing. But we place such a priority on giving our best, and so, some people aren't at that skill level yet, which is fine. So in your worship team, you maybe just need to learn it a bit earlier. So if you wanted to do it a Sunday, you give the demo out 2 weeks in advance. And you say, everyone learn it for the 2 weeks coming, Sundays. We don't expect that every church should be able to do that. Anybody else? Any other questions? Yeah? How do you tune a tom-tom? Do you want to explain it, Brendo? How do you tune a tom?
firstly, I'd remove any tape or anything that's on there to try and get the pure tone of the drum. And then I'll tune these have some dampening things on the bottom at the moment, so that's why it sounds a bit dull. See how it doesn't really ring, doesn't go like that one, yeah? Let me show you. That one rings out a bit more. And then I tune the bottom one up a little bit tighter than the top one. So the bottom one will define your tone, or what sort of note you're going to hit at, and the top one will reflect that as well, but it will give you whatever feel you want to hit, you know, when you're hitting your drums. So if you want to feel it sinking in, you can tune it a bit lower. And then I generally just go around each tom. So I put my finger in the middle of the drum, and then I'll put the finger in the middle of the drum, and then hit around. See how that's a little bit higher here? It goes boom, boom.
Slightly different frequencies.
So I tune the one that was lower up, and I tune the one that was higher lower, and try and get the drum to be even around the whole drum. So no matter where I hit the drum, it's going to sound exactly the same, like without consistency.
Does that help? Cool. Good job, Brenda. Any other? Yes.
What's the best recommended pedals for a bass guitar? Because most of us here play without any pedals.
Without any pedals? Okay. Yeah, I mean, Josh isn't using any pedals this morning except the tuner, but why don't you tell him what you've got at home?
At home, I would typically just use a tuner and a volume pedal, and that's just in case something weird happens, like a buzz happens, I can take that out with the volume. But I also have a tube pedal, so a little bit of distortion. A lot of the time that'll come from the front of house guy will do that for me, but sometimes I'll do it myself, and then I might have a delay, but I'll use that once a year, really. I don't use pedals very often, to be honest.
Yeah. For this style of music, you don't want to get too carried away with effects on bass, because it's just going to mess things up, you know. Distortion, like a tube distortion, definitely has its place, like in the rock kind of style, but I mean, you definitely wouldn't be using a delay unless it was a feature, right? Yep. Now, we didn't use it this morning, and it was a good example to show you. We didn't actually use tracks this morning. But who knows what tracks are? Like, we play along to tracks. Yeah. You can actually buy our tracks from a place called multitracks.com. So they're the exact same tracks as what we use. You can actually use them in your church, which is cool, and you can change the key on them as well. But we did this to show you that you don't need tracks, but tracks can be an enhancement. Now, what we do at church, well, last night we run tracks on a laptop. You might have seen Josh Ham on the bass. He had a laptop there, and he was triggering all the tracks. So when I say next song, he presses the next song on that. And basically what's going on there is like loops, keyboard arpeggios and sounds like that, which also have a click, which goes to all our ears so we can keep in time. So Brendo's playing this now. So hear that cowbell kind of click? So what you guys probably don't understand is that last night in our ears we've got this bong, 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 the whole time. While you're enjoying the presence of God, worshiping God, we're like chung, chung, chung. But we're used to it now, and you just kind of ignore it. Yeah. You ignore the sound of it, but you keep in time with it. And the reason it's that cowbell really yucky sound is because it needs to cut through the mix. Yeah. And if you have, sometimes I've found with the click, like normal click metronome, like when you're drumming, you're hitting those same sort of rhythmic notes, like so it can kind of get lost. Yeah. So that's why we have that cowbell sound. So it's very important as a drummer that you play in time with the click. Yeah. Very, very important, because you'll die if you don't. So Brendo will lock in with that click, and then we will lock in with Brendo, because we don't want to play to a click, because it's hard to get feel to a click. Yeah. You know what I mean? But you can get feel when you're playing along with a drummer. So as other musicians, you're better off trying to get into the feel with the drums as opposed to a metronome. Let the drummer lock in with a click. Mind you, I still like to hear the click in my ears. But yeah, so last night we have a stereo set of tracks that go out to the front of house, and we also have some vocals on the tracks, which is a secret. Don't tell anyone. And that just basically gives us the ability to You know, when you're doing a 2-hour concert like last night, you very quickly lose your voice, especially with the kind of energy that we're using on stage. And so having vocals on the tracks gives us the ability not to push our vocals so hard, and we can kind of last the whole night, if you know what I mean. And so we have 2 sets of those vocals, which we just take from the album, and then we've got 2 sets of the tracks and the click. So, and then that's how, did you enjoy the intro last night with Josh conducting the thing? That was pretty, well done, Josh, well done. Give yourself a round of applause. And so he had the click in his ears, so it says on the track, it goes, hit on the left, 1, 2, 3, bam. So he knows. Or I could just say you just felt it. You just been led by the Holy Spirit. Any other questions regarding this stuff? Yes.
I have another question about your synthesized sounds.
Yeah.
How do you guys get that? Especially those bass drops. It sounded amazing live.
Yeah. So we produced that. We've got some studios back home in Melbourne, which is where we do all the albums. We use a program called Pro Tools. Anyone familiar with Pro Tools?
Pro Tools, yeah.
That's where we do all the albums. And we've got a lot of different virtual instruments, they're called. And one of the main software that we use is called Native Instruments. That's the company. Complete, yeah, Massive comes in that. So Massive, there's the beat thing called Battery. We use a program called Omnisphere, just full of those sounds. So if anyone is into that world, check those plugins out because they're amazing. Was there someone put their hand up over here? Yep.
What about changes in chord progression when it goes outside the key? Like you're playing in C major and you have a B flat.
Yeah, so
How do you put that in
number system. I don't actually have a thing like that, but I'll probably, if I was on the keyboard, I would say 7, maybe wrong 7, because like a 7 is a B, like a G over B, which is this. So we're in the key of C, right? So 7 is. But what this guy's asking is if we want to go to a B flat, which is this chord, so it has that different sound. So there's no real number for that. So what do we call that? Well, if I was on the keyboard, I probably wouldn't call the number. I'll just say B flat. Otherwise, you could say wrong 7. That's what Andy, our drummer, calls it, wrong 7, and he's got me saying it now. So yeah, I wouldn't bother with the number for that. It's too confusing. Someone else have a question? Yes.
Yeah, just very brief one regarding the acoustic guitar. What is the recommended kind of setting for either a 12-string or a 6 or a regular 6-string? Or is there a difference between the two? Or do you recommend using a 12-string for a certain type of song? You know, because the sound is quite different.
If you didn't hear that question, it was what do we recommend?